This conference will now be recorded.
I think we can get started. I have 10 people signed up and I see there's 10 callers, so I'm hoping that's the 10 people.
All right, I'll get started then. Thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Common Council at our Laws and Rules public hearing. Today is Wednesday, August 19th. My name is Andrea Schott, the Council President and organizer for our virtual meetings. Before we begin, we would like to go over a few guidelines to navigate this system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. We ask that members of the public and press remain muted and off as long as they're not speaking for the length of the meeting. As organizer, I reserve the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Council members will control their own mute button. Good practice to mute yourself if you are not speaking to feedback. All of our meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city's website. If you have any issues, send a text message to the following number, 845-594-0. Please note that phone calls won't be answered during the meeting. The number to text again is 845-594-6120. The chairperson will call on each speaker during our hearing. The moderator will unmute all attendees at that time to allow the speaker to address the council. Please be aware that with every new speaker, all phones will be briefly unmuted. If you can mute your own phone, please do so. We ask for your patience as we navigate this new system. As the organizer for today's meeting, I reserve the right to lock and pause the meeting to eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance the chair, Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morale, Laws and Rules Committee members, subbing for Patrick O'Reilly is Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch, Alderwoman Rita Worthington, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress. City staff, we have Corp Counsel Dan Gardenstein and City Clerk Elisa Tinty. Thank you for your patience, and on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health. And I now turn the floor over to Chair Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morale.
Good evening. This is Jeffrey Ventura Morale. The Laws and Rules Committee for the Common Council of the City of Kingston is holding this public hearing tonight for the rezoning amendment for 2-16 Montrepose Avenue. Called to order at 5:07 p.m. We have written comments were submitted, so I will just read the names of those commenters, and their comments will be available on the city's website for the public record. These are all comments opposed to the rezoning. Walter and Mildred Witkowski, John Caulfield, Malcolm Byrne, Joshua Unterbach, Jean Barlow and Julia Barlow, Michael Mueller, Shail Javeri, Jay Putnam, Laura V. Ward, Leo Skop, Laura Epstein, Svetlana Cherkova, Lynn Woods, and Barbara Scott. And the people that have signed up to speak tonight, I will call on your name. When I call your name, please first state your name, address, and whether you are speaking in favor or against the rezoning petition. So the first speaker that signed up is Malcolm Barnes. Malcolm Burns. Okay. The next signed up speaker is Sam Newsom.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yes. Please state your name, address, and whether you're speaking in favor or against the rezoning.
My name is Sam Newsom. I live at 189 West Chestnut Street, and I am speaking in opposition.
Okay. You can go ahead and state your comment.
Okay. Well, I wanted to point out that the houses in this neighborhood have roots in working class tradesmen and family living. You know, it's craftsmen, family doctors, carpenters, shop owners, artists. Those are the kind of people that built these houses. You know, they're hardworking craftsmen that lived up the hill, and they were close by, but they were removed from the hustle and bustle of their workplaces down on the Rondout district. I'd like to point out that at this point, with this rezoning, there's nothing about this process right now to keep Mr. Wright from removing affordable housing from a project at a future point. There's other ways to make a great impact for our current residents while making a change that is more rooted in the neighborhood. One of these ways I might suggest is that this parcel could easily be subdivided to several comparably sized lots with R2 zoning, just like the neighboring houses, and they would be 1 or 2 family dwellings that would be right in line with the houses in that neighborhood. There's obviously a need for this. Actually, this Monday, the Daily Freeman had an article describing the almost 20% rise in house prices in Ulster County this year. And so clearly homes are in demand here like nowhere else in the country. That could easily be, houses could easily be built and sold at a profit and also conform to the character of the neighborhood. Furthermore, there is a waterway that actually originates on the property and runs through the property. That could definitely be mitigated in line with what the city has suggested in their Kingston 2025 plan through the use of a public rain garden. It could also be an opportunity here to be Ward 9's first community green space right at the gateway to this hill neighborhood. Just 2 more points, and then I would yield my time to other speakers. In the Kingston 2025 plan, the property is labeled on page 15 in figure number 6 as steeply sloped. And the language used right on that page says that areas such as this remain underdeveloped in these regions of the city. Where they remain this way, the city should consider significantly restricting future development. The suggested uses for these types of land are agriculture, open space, and rural density residential. Furthermore, I'd just like to point out that the Kingston 2025 plan on page 17 calls for 3 root neighborhoods: Uptown, Midtown, and the Rondout, which is centered at the foot of Broadway. On the map on that same page, on page 17, this parcel easily and securely falls inside an area designated in yellow as for medium density residential land use. So I just think there are a lot of ways to use this lot and develop it, but that are in line with its history as a 1 to 2 family residential neighborhood, and its zoning should reflect that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker who signed up is Julie Balu. Julie Balu or Julia Balu?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you please state your name, address, and whether you're speaking in favor or against the rezoning?
Furthermore, I'd just like to point out that the Kingston 2025 plan on page 17 calls for 3 root neighborhoods.
Yes, are you there?
And the Rondout, which is centered at the foot of Broadway. On the map on that same page, on page 17, this parcel easily and securely falls inside an area designated in yellow as a medium density residential.
It's like she's listening to a recording of what the previous speaker
Yes, I
said.
hear. I thought that was the comment, but it doesn't. Yeah. Julia Ballo, are you there?
Thought that Julie was caller 8, like caller 8 went green when someone said I'm here and then it went red again.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
On 19, but it could just be picking up the background noise. Julie, are you there?
She's caller 8 is
I'm
unmuted.
here.
Okay. Yes, can you go ahead and start your comment, please? State your name, address, and whether you're speaking in favor or against the rezoning. Yes. Are you there? Okay. Okay, Julia, I'll call the next caller and then I'll call your name after. So just because I don't know what's happening with our sound here. So the next speaker is Lowell Ting.
Oh, hold on.
Lowell Ting.
Lowell thing?
Lowell, yeah, that's Lowell.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I'm sorry, yes. This
Hi.
is Lowell
Yes, can you
thing.
please, state your name, address, and whether you are in favor or against the rezoning.
I live at 188 Ledge Road in the town of Ulster, but I have lived on Chestnut Street in the past for over 40 years. And I am opposed to this proposed zoning change. When I lived on the street, I did a lot of research over time about how the neighborhood developed and who once lived on it. And I think probably everybody here knows that the Chestnut Street neighborhood is a very historic part of Kingston, closely identified with its 19th century industrial history. But it is not just a place where the brickyard owners and the canal managers lived in their big houses. At the other end of the street lived the people who worked for the brick makers and the canal managers, the wagon drivers, canal boat carpenters, and railroad clerks, and so on. That's the part of the neighborhood we're talking about tonight. The existing neighborhood still tells this story in its visible architecture, and it is a story of individual families living in single-family homes. And if you start to change what this neighborhood looks like, this story will gradually disappear. And that is one reason why the property in question is zoned the way it is today. If you change the zoning, you're going to change the story. Nearby are two significantly multifamily properties, the schoolhouse across the street and further up the Chestnut Mansion Apartments. The latter did manage to preserve most of the original home of Edward Kirkendall. The schoolhouse exterior was entirely preserved. Inside, even the blackboards were retained, and for this reason, neighbors had little or no objection to that building's adaptation to residential. In fact, this reuse of the building ensured that a notable part of the neighborhood's history was preserved. But a rezoning of 216 Montrepose, a gateway to this end of Chestnut Street and its neighborhood, poses a real threat to the historic story, which I think even the property owner himself recognizes. Zoning is intended to serve a city's overall plan for its present and future residents. It must honor and serve the interests of existing residents who in good faith assume a certain stability and order in the city's growth and land use. Excuse me. Any change to zoning must necessarily be exceptional and fair to those who are already invested in it. The zoning change process itself assumes that adjoining property owners have an interest in any such change. Certainly, they should have preference in any proposed change over a party asking for such a change. I don't presume to offer a suggestion about how the property should be used, but I do think that the present owner should reconsider the impact his proposal would have on this neighborhood. Meanwhile, once again, I urge you to oppose this proposed zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let me call again Julia Balu. Are you able to speak now?
Hi, this is Michelle Hirsch. I reached out to Julie and she's
Okay.
going to try to call back in. Okay. And
Okay, so I'll call her again at the end.
okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, next speaker is Pamela Wenner.
Hi, this is Pamela Winter, and I live at 33 Montrepose Avenue.
At the end.
Okay, thank you.
Did you hear me so far?
Yes.
Okay, and I am opposed to the rezoning.
Okay.
I also want to let you know that I did submit a letter yesterday, and it was not mentioned. So I would like that to be a part of the record, my letter
Okay.
as well that I had sent in. Okay.
All right.
I put it in the Dropbox last night. I have pretty much 3 points that I'd like to make. I'm a 30-year resident of Montrepose Avenue, and I really enjoy the pleasures of living in a neighborhood community, you know, the pleasures of walking through the neighborhood, just being a part of the neighborhood. And as well, I take a lot of enjoyment and pride in maintaining my property. When I purchased my property in 1990, I was aware that the zoning was RRR, and also when the current proposal, when the owner of that purchased the property, that was also RRR, and you know that poses certain regulations by law. And in 1990, I was aware that the zoning. And, you know, I think it's important to stay within that and maintain the character of the neighborhood. Secondly, I'd just like to just express just a couple concerns about the adjacent streets next to that property. And my concern in terms of there's several blind spots in that area that I'd just like to, you know, bring up for further review. You know, right across the street where Ravine Street comes up to West Pierpont Street, where West Pierpont, Hudson, and Montrepose intersect, that's another blind spot. Up on Montrepose Avenue, as you enter from New Street onto Montrepose Avenue, that's another blind spot. And also a lot of traffic just totally ignores the stop sign going down Montrepose, going down that hill at a high rate of speed. So I am concerned with, you know, the fact of 15 other housing units in an area that wasn't zoned for that purpose, that it's, you know, a location that could significantly endanger the safety of, you know, the residents, you know, and children playing near the street. So that's a concern of mine. My final concern and comment is that I really hope that this project can be looked at as a whole. You know, the zoning, the site plan review, the SECRA, the environmental review, you know, transportation, that all of that is looked at as a whole, and that there's not, I hope that there's not a preliminary decision made to rezone the property without taking those factors in the current proposal in place. You know, I'm aware that the Ulster County Planning Board had recommended that, and I think it's important to keep the integrity of the process. So I, you know, just hope that you'll consider that when looking at this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller on the list is Adriana Pericchi. Adriana Pericchi.
Hi, this is Adriana Perici.
Pericchi,
And yeah, no worries.
yes, please state your address and whether you're speaking in favor or against the rezoning.
Yes, my name is Adriana Perici. My partner and I own and live at 126 West Pierpont, directly across from 2 to 16 Montrepose. And we opposed this zoning change. I moved to the Hudson Valley from Puerto Rico by way of college in the region. My partner was born in Ulster County and has lived here most of his life. And we bought our house in this neighborhood because of the unique feel of a diverse community living in reasonably sized homes that are integrated into the natural environment. And for us, being committed to this community, which we are, means caring deeply for our neighbors and caring deeply for nature and the land. So we're grateful to live in a single family home, as are our next door neighbors, Tim and Valerie, our neighbors to our right, who have read this statement and have asked us to speak on their behalf as well, since they couldn't be here tonight. We're also really, really grateful that there's a multifamily home with 4 units on the other side of our house. People call it the house on the rock. We get to be neighbors with the working class individuals and families who live there and who are able to pay affordable rents, which we all know is a rarity in Kingston these days. We are happy with the way things are with the homes and the neighbors at this intersection of West Pierpont and Montrepose, and we feel concerned that any upzoning from RRR to for 2 to 16 Montrepose could detract from this experience. However, we are also deeply concerned with the housing crisis that Kingston faces. You know, in 2019, an Ulster County vacancy study determined that the vacancy rate is a little over 3%. Between 2018 and 2019, there were 1,600 people in Ulster County at risk of homelessness, and we all know that the market is currently inflated beyond belief, and we're honestly terrified. We're terrified for our community, knowing personally many people struggling to find and secure housing. So when we look at this lot, when we look at 2 to 16 Montrepose across the street, we envision part of that land having affordable housing. We envision that land housing families, and yes, families plural. And we understand that currently RRR only allows 1 single family home. However, we're concerned that spot upzoning to RT with the possibility of applying for a special permit would open the doors to overly dense development for this location. And we know that we're only supposed to analyze the proposed zoning amendment by itself, but really we can't help but view it in the context of the proposed 15-unit development, because the applicant filled out the zoning application and EAF, the short environmental assessment form, based on these details about the project. So in addition to the concerns about upzoning that our neighbors are expressing, we want to share our concern that upzoning specifically to RT could pave the way both figuratively and literally to having a severe impact on the environmental services that the lot currently provides. For question 14 on the EAF, the applicant checked urban as typical habitats that occur on or are likely to be found on the parcel, despite the fact that it is clear to any passerby or through Google Earth that the land cover of more than half of the lot is forest, including mature native trees such as silver maple, cottonwood, and locust. From our house, we enjoy seeing the many species of birds flying in and out of these trees, the gurgling stream that we hear when we walk by down West Pierpont, even in the driest months. So we believe that the bulk and lot requirements of the RT zone and their potential impacts on the existing natural environment should be really closely examined and in consideration of the zoning change. Perhaps the zone is zoned RRR for a reason, since it's really similar in land cover and topography to other similarly sized RRR lots along that same ridge between West Chestnut and McEntee Streets, such as 40, 28, 20, 10, and 2 Dietz Court. So maybe that's why it's zoned RRR. But perhaps there's some other zoning solution to achieve a balance between housing and the environment that will be good for everyone. We understand that a full seeker review will come with the formal application and site plan, but the zoning amendment must have an environmental review as well. And we're worried that the Laws and Rules Committee and the full Common Council will not adequately perform this environmental review when considering the proposed zoning amendment. Once again, we urge you to oppose the zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Joshua Unterbach.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Joshua Unterbach.
Yes, can you
I live
state
at
your address?
198.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I live.
Hello? Are you there, Joshua?
That's awful.
Hello,
Wait, sorry.
this is Joshua Unterbach.
12, color 12. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
This is Josh.
Hello?
No, it's Malcolm Byrne. I think Josh was.
I'm right here. I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and speak.
Thank you. I'm speaking in opposition to the applicant's failure to put a full site plan before the planning board and common council.
Sorry, Joshua, we didn't hear your address. Could you state that for the record, please?
198 West Chestnut Street.
Thank you.
My house is at direct risk of significant structural damage if the landowner, Mr. Wright, chips at the bedrock in an improper fashion. It could be irreparable. I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed rezoning based on the applicant's failure to put a full site plan before the planning board and common council. I have submitted a formal protest petition detailing my objections, co-signed by my adjoining and adjacent neighbors that surround the lot. Andrew Wright has a strong body of work in this town and is well liked. This alone is not grounds for a spot rezoning of this parcel. Mr. Wright has left the lot wild and lawless for 20 odd years. The area is calling for an improvement. This alone is not ground to circumvent the recommended civic and topographical review process. I hope my city's governing bodies can prioritize fairness in their land review process. I thank the committee for their time.
Thank you. Next speaker signed up is Svetlana Cherkova. Svetlana Sherkova.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Hello.
Svetlana Cherkova, are you on the call?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, yeah, thank you for taking the time to listen to public commentary. I live at 154 West Pierpont Street, which is across the street diagonally from 216 Montrepose. The subject of rezoning, and let's face it, probably future construction site, because we know that construction faithfully follows in footsteps of rezoning. My husband and I have owned our home for 3 years here now, and we've grown to love this neighborhood and the unique character of it, as well as get to know all our neighbors, and we share with them the appreciation of the old houses and the old trees and the plenty of space we have to breathe. So the rezoning of...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Svetlana. Can you just state for the record whether you're speaking in favor or against the rezoning?
I'm sorry, against, in opposition.
Okay, thank you.
Because I think the rezoning of 216 Montrepose is just the first step in a chain reaction of events that will follow, that will ultimately erode the unique character of the neighborhood we've all come to enjoy. So whether it be the old trees or the space to breathe or the old houses, which probably be obscured from view. I know with this meeting, we're supposed to be just focusing on this discrete decision of like the to be or not to be of the RRR to IT rezoning, but we all know that history is like a chain of events that flows through time, and so no decision, no matter how small, it seems at the time happens in a vacuum. So, you know, it's a single decision that can set a precedent that opens a Pandora's box of rapacious overdevelopment and aggressive rezoning. And I think there's too much of Kingston's historic character has been already irreparably lost to such decisions in the decades prior. You know, we'll know what happened with urban renewal and why there's a Planet Wings now where a post office was. So, yeah, I urge you, as you make this decision tonight, to look forward in time and consider the change to this neighborhood and the unique character of Kingston as a whole that this decision will bring in the years and decades to come. And, yeah, and make the call that you will continue to be proud of as the years fly by. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next caller is Lauren Epstein.
Hi there.
Hi, Lauren. Could you state your address and whether you are in favor or opposed to the rezoning, please?
Yes, I'm at 240 West Chestnut, and I'm opposed.
Thank you.
So I'm presently residing in my family's home, generational home of 40 plus years, and I really love this area. It's where I attended high school and where I recently returned and where I plan to continue living through my retirement. Not a small part of my tenderness for the city is the enduring character of its old streets and its beautiful waterways and its industry and varied antique residences. They all combine to give a texture of grit and gentility, and it's both historic and also living. It's just been beautiful to be here since my return past number of months to see the ways the neighbors relate and the way children enjoy playing in the streets right around the bends that people have spoken about, and all the nature around. And I think that this beautiful character and charm has been an important draw and driver of growth in Kingston and the Rondout area, and it's very much worth preserving for economic as well as aesthetic reasons. And I can hear that. It's lovely to hear my neighbors speak about this as well. The RT spot zoning, it's of that parcel. It would introduce unnecessary risk to the future of this area. That I think potentially could alter the character of this historic residential neighborhood. It would open up far too many alternate uses of the land should the existing residential plan falter. There's no guarantee that the plans that were presented will work out. Even those plans, the scale, there's a lot to be evaluated there. But should the current owner encounter any obstacles, and I imagine there could be significant obstacles. When you look at the land, it looks like a big challenging building project. The RT zoning might reduce his incentives to complete the project by offering opportunities to sell. The new zoning can make that property more attractive to other developers for non-residential purposes that would be incompatible with the neighboring RRR homes. So I don't see a compelling reason to rezone where a variance might suffice, supporting a multifamily residential building in an area that has seen such variances in the past. So if this project does go forward, I'm hoping it's within the bounds of the existing zoning, where well-considered exceptions can be made after careful impact review. So as I mentioned, I think a good review would be appropriate for this really unusually situated site. It's centrally located, yet all these years it has not been developed, maybe for good reasons. An evaluation would be needed for the stress on the land and the traffic patterns and utilities. So should development be deemed appropriate, it's my hope that it's done with care and sensitivity consistent with the surroundings, with residents or residences that are assets to the neighborhood and our pathways and our community. And in that case, a viable plan should be possible without RT zoning. RT spot rezoning is too broad an action. It brings too many varied possibilities, including non-residential, to a parcel situated intimately with historic small homes. The last point I would like to make is that it's about the intent of the use of that parcel. I recently learned that the land was given as a gift from a longtime resident to the school for the benefit of the neighborhood community to alleviate parking difficulties when students arrive to attend the community college. So I think thoughtful choices regarding how this land is zoned and used will help ensure the intent of the legacy for the community good. And I really do appreciate your listening to our comments. And I also want to say thank you to my neighbors as well.
Thank you. Okay, next caller is Andrea Staskowska.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Andrea Stashkowska. I am opposed to the rezoning, and I reside at 246 West Chestnut Street. In the 2025 Kingston Comprehensive Plan, this particular parcel of property was designated, quote, physically constrained land. That is, the designation given this parcel recognized that it is of historical, topographical, and geographic significance. And the comprehensive plan concluded, quote, further exploration of these physically constrained areas is likely not necessary, as these areas are generally undeveloped and not suited for future development. Indeed, in all the centuries that Kingston has been in existence, this parcel has never been inhabited with structures. It's a wooded sliver with a stream against a rock face on a precariously steep slope. As my neighbors have very eloquently described, it is a little environmental wonderland, and the reason it isn't developed is because to do so would require blasting into the hill. Not only would blasting into the hill compromise the structures already adjacent to it, it would also compromise, I would say actually destroy, the character of Chestnut Street neighborhood and the Rondout district as a whole. And it would open up the way, as others have pointed out, to unbridled high density development. Now, Mr. Wright obtained this parcel as part of a subdivision deal when he sold the school, which is now the Academy Loft building, that parcel had been attached to the Academy Lofts. As already stated, it had been given to the school to handle congestion, to allow for parking for the neighbors and also walking. Mr. Wright sold himself the property for $1, and he was given a RRR, single family residence zoning. No homes prior had ever been built there for all of the reasons, topographical, environmental, etc., that have been mentioned. Mr. Wright has an opportunity to profit twice on his initial purchase, and I think he should feel lucky he has the opportunity to build single family, removing any possibility of blasting into the hill. Furthermore, I want to say that Mr. Wright got his directions wrong. People are not moving to Kingston because they want to live in Brooklyn. People are moving to Kingston for its unique and varied housing stock, its low density living, its integration into the natural environment, and for its historical character. I implore the council members to vote against this petition for rezoning, and in so doing, vote for Kingston's future, which is fueled by its unique character and history. What people are looking for today is integrity, not high density. Honor the Kingston 2020 comprehensive plan and let that stand of trees, that stream, and that hill stand for the future of Kingston. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then next caller is Clark Richters.
Hello?
Hi, Clark. Can you state your address and whether you're speaking in favor or against the rezoning, please?
It's 3 Garrigan Drive, and I speaking against the proposal or the changing of the zoning. And I also want to add, for the record, my concerns about that section of Kingston.
Okay, go ahead.
Since I believe, I'm not sure when it happened, there used to be able to, the neighbors used to be able to park in there where it got most of the cars off the streets. Now that they blocked it off, Mr. Wright has blocked it off. Now he's pushed the cars on the street, and I believe that if you go down there, like the one caller says, I believe when you're trying to come up Ravine Street, you're not able to see around the cars, because I remember seeing cars like parked along there. So your visibility looking up that hill is next to nothing. Not only you have to deal with that, you also have to deal with trying to keep your car from rolling back or whatever. And probably in the winter time is probably even worse. So I would suggest to council really right now, because there's a lot of cars parked on the street over there, and that is a busy intersection, that they do a traffic study alone in that area, because I think it's going to be a matter of time before something, hopefully it doesn't, some tragedy of pedestrian or an accident is going to happen over there because of what the changes are over there, where the cars have no choice but, because there's no off-street parking, and you have to take that, and hopefully, and that's it. And so I'm hoping that the council will take, or my aldermen will pursue that on-street parking over there because I think it's, I mean, I know they probably don't have a choice over there, but it would be really helpful if they were able to park in the lot to keep their cars up the street, not only during the winter, especially the winter months. I mean, that would really help somebody for not getting towed up the street. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we're circling back to Malcolm Byrne. Malcolm Byrne.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you? Can you state your address and whether you're speaking in favor or against the proposal, please?
Yes, of course. I live at 63 West Chestnut, so, and my name is Malcolm Byrne, I guess I must have said that, and I'm opposed, yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, my primary concern, a lot of what I feel is pretty accurately stated by many of your other callers, so I won't, tread over the same trail. But one of the primary concerns I have is that, as you probably are familiar with the street, there's a lot of, these older historic houses that are fairly large. For example, my house is 4 bedrooms, and my concern is that some of the, like, let's say, for example, the gentleman who lives in what used to be called the Cloverleaf. I won't mention his name because I want to, maintain his privacy. But he's getting on, and it's kind of unclear what's going to happen with the property. And my concern would be, say, for example, someone were to purchase that house and decide to subdivide it into, say, 4 separate or even 6 separate units. For that would, I could just see that sort of landslide effect where all these beautiful houses get carved up, which unfortunately we've seen in other parts of town. I don't mean to sound too selfish here, but it's a trend that hopefully is being reversed. And my other concern, and this is a broader concern of Kingston in general and the area as a whole, is maintaining an equal balance between housing for people coming up currently as a current this is trying to get out of the city, but also maintaining affordable housing for people who already live here, who are already been finding it hard enough to keep up with rents, and just seeing rents go up and up and up is going to push people who really deserve to be here. And I'm talking multi-generational Kingston residents that may be forced out because of increased rents. So that's pretty much my moral opposition to the issue, and the practical legal. I don't feel I need to go into that. So I'll leave it there, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and the last person, we're circling back now to Julie Balu.
Hello.
Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Would you state your address and whether you're speaking in favor or against the proposal, please?
I live at 202 West Chestnut Street, and I'm speaking against the rezoning.
Okay, go ahead.
My husband and I have lived at 202 West Chestnut for 32 years. Before that, my husband resided there at 202 from 1953 until 1988. It's a family home. In fact, I grew up on Home Street. As such, I am very familiar with this area, and I relish its history and its beauty. As a longtime resident, I cherish my neighborhood and its RRR zoning. It might be argued that there are homes that house multi-units. Those structures were pre-existing and were keeping with the design and character of our neighborhood. I am against the rezoning of 216 for many reasons. The property lies directly behind my home. It is located on a steep hill, on a very narrow road and hill that has very limited room for multiple vehicles and blind spots that endanger and impede vision of drivers. With the changing in zoning and the proposed 15-unit housing that Mr. Wright has come up with, this would put a dangerous strains on the intersection. Also, I'm concerned about the environmental impact. This is a wooded area with a freshwater stream running through the said property. I have first-hand knowledge of this stream as I played and walked by the said stream many times as a child growing up in this area. In fact, this stream is mentioned and its historic past in Ed Ford's book Streetwise on page 204 and 205. Because of this and many other reasons, I implore that this rezoning be examined as a whole rather than segmenting the process, as each part has a major implication on the others. In fact, the Ulster County Planning Board has made this recommendation, and it should be adhered to. I want to state I am not against development of this property if it stays within the zoning and remains RRR. A 1 or 2 family home that is affordable to residents could be built here with respect to the environmental and historic aspect of this land. In fact, the present owner has had this property for over 20 years, but has done little to nothing to improve it in that time. 20 years ago, this property was not in the condition it is now. This seems to come from a lack of upkeep and concern, in my opinion. I remember the fiasco of urban renewal, the demolition of the 2 beautiful post offices, etc. We cannot go back, but we can ensure that this property will be utilized in the best possible way in adherence to its present zoning. Let us not repeat our past mistakes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last caller I have is Shail Javeri.
Hello.
Hi, yes.
Hi, my name is Shail Javeri. My partner and I live on 48 West Chestnut Street, and we are opposed to the rezoning. We're grateful for the opportunity to speak with you, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us. I'll be brief. We are newer residents to Kingston and to this hill, to the neighborhood. We purchased a historic home with the understanding that we were moving into a single-family and historic neighborhood. We hope to nurture both our home and our neighborhood for many years to come. We are opposed to the rezoning that will erode the unique character of this neighborhood, as well as the negative ecological impact. We are most concerned that one such decision will lead to many, many others. We implore you to reject the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes all the people who had signed up to speak. Anyone who...
Jeffrey, I just texted you because there's somebody else who just texted.
Okay. Oh, yes. One more speaker, Tanya Garment.
Hi, thanks very much. I called the clerk's office, but I got the voicemail and I didn't get a confirmation back. So before the end of the day, I don't know if I missed the deadline. So thanks very much for taking my comment. I wanted to point out a couple of things. One
sorry,
is that
before you go on,
can you okay?
Yeah, can you state your address and whether you're speaking in favor or against the proposal?
Thank you. Tanya Garment, 102 Worth Street, Kingston. And I am against the public hearing, or I'm against the process so far, or what the process looks like it may be about to be. I don't know if I'm against the rezoning or not. In a way, I am against the rezoning in that what we really should have done already is started working on an actual comprehensive zoning code to go along with our comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2016. And we were just about to start working on it before the state of the emergency was declared. So it is totally understandable that this has been on hold. However, I think it's becoming abundantly evident that we need a proper zoning code to navigate these treacherous waters that we are finding ourselves in. I am not against integrating multifamily into single-family neighborhoods, but it does need to be done with thought to the experience on the street, what people do in their homes, and how people finance homes is not something that I believe should be any of our business. When many of these buildings were first built, they had many more people than they would have even if they were broken up into a multifamily house now. Families were very large. We have cars that we're dealing with right now, but we are at a state where we don't have any real parking management system. We don't have anything in terms of a code that we really need. We don't have affordable housing requirements. We don't have short-term rental legislation. And we don't have the form-based code that we desperately need right now. More people are moving into Kingston, and we need to be able to accommodate them in a way that is going to be sustainable and inclusive, and will keep Kingston a place where people have a good quality of life, but that more people than now can afford to live in. So this is something that is going to take a real process. We should be working on our zoning code right now. But I also wanted to say that I was disappointed that the comments from the Ulster County Planning Board regarding this did not make it into the packet. And I hope that the members of this committee have read them. They recommend that a full site plan review be done before you address rezoning. And that is because you need to understand what is really being proposed to go here. Don't do it backwards. And please work on our rezoning. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the speakers that had signed up to speak. If anybody didn't have a chance to sign up, I will keep the public comment period open until August 31st, which is the day of our Common Council caucus. So you could still submit written comments to the city clerk before then. And I think that is it for us. Andrea, is there anything else I need to state on the record for the process?
Just gotta end the meeting.
Okay, but not close it, right? Because we're keeping it open.
Close the meeting. Just close the meeting at whatever time.
Okay, so the public speaking period will remain open until August 31st, and we are closing this meeting at 6:02. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Andrea.
Just for you guys to know that I'm keeping the live stream running. It'll be the same live stream for laws and rules. IT, Kyle asked me to do it that way, and then he'll split it up afterwards. I guess it's easier on their end. So the live stream will keep rolling. I don't think it affects any of you because you come into the meeting. So see you all in 28 minutes.
Okay, I'll turn off my camera and go eat something.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you.